Huzzah! And welcome to another episode of As the Brazos Falls. I'm here with the usual suspects, Pat and Nick. How you guys doing?
Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody today?
Good. Today we are recording on location at the famous Palace Theater. And we have our first live guest, Mildred. She is a wonderful person that lives in Falls County. She is involved in all types of arts and the library, the garden club, the sewing club, you name it, the Palace Theater. She's done it. She is a staple within the community, and I'm going to kick it off to Nick to talk about what our episode's about today.
All right. Well, our episode is going to be about the Palace Theater. And Mildred is here because she is not only a fellow board member with myself, she is also currently my stage manager for the upcoming performance that we're doing. She's been doing a great job helping me out with set and props and all that good stuff. But she's also been here since the 80s. Mildred, you want to tell us what year you got here to Marlin?
I really don't know, because I've been involved with everything, and I just keep busy. I don't stop. I'm interested in the arts. I'm interested in the history of Marlin and of Texas, because I'm a Texas girl.
Yeah, yeehaw.
Yeah, and that's why we say Mildred's been here since the 80s, because that's always her answer, is I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember when I got here. I just know at some point in time I was here.
I do have to say real quick, not to cut you off, but I do want to talk a little bit. I mean, I know I kind of said it in the intro, but I mean, Mildred's involved all over this town. She's really great at networking too and bringing people together. Like, I met Mildred, and that's how I went to the garden club. My friend took me to the garden club. That's where I met her. She said, hey, come out to the Palace. Then I came to the Palace Theater, and then I joined the garden club, and then I was in 2 plays here. You know, she's really good at getting the community involved, not just like, you know, philanthropists that are trying to support the arts, that make it available for us, but also getting people involved that want to act or want to be a part of this club or that club. And I think that's like a beautiful thing to share with people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So at any point in time, TK and Pat, while we're going over the history of the theater, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to cut me off. I don't care.
Okay,
I can roll with the flow.
We have no problems with that.
I've been on stage at this place for the last 20-something ungodly amount of years of my life, so I'm used to improv and
okay, so when was the first time you got it? You asked Mildred about her coming here and being involved in the Palace. What about you?
So I would say, well, I was born in Marlin. I was born here in 1984, which that year comes into play a little bit later with the history of the theater, and we'll get to that. But I was born just a couple doors down at the Falls Hospital, right down the street.
That's cool.
So I've been here since then, and I would say I started coming to the theater in the mid-90s. Maybe 90, actually earlier than that, because I was about 7 or 8 the first time I walked in here. So it was probably 91 or 92.
Did you know Mildred then?
No. Had no idea who she was at that time. I was a 7, 8-year-old kid. I didn't know anybody.
Yeah, I didn't know if you did the Christmas plays or...
No, I came as a patron those first few times as a kid. And I sat up there in that balcony. And I say to the listeners up there in that balcony as I'm pointing at it, because we're actually recording on the stage right now. So just real quick with that, you might hear some sounds come through that are not normal to what you normally hear during our recordings. There is a nice set of train tracks across the street from us here, so you might hear the train go by at some point, and just like we do during performances, we'll pause and say, oh, hey, there goes the train.
Which tripped me out the first time I came here, and I was actually on stage, which I was scared to death, by the way. But then the train happened, and I heard that this does happen. But it's different when you're in acting and you're in the middle of a play, and you're on stage, and it's like, okay, stop what you're doing, freeze, and then, okay, let's get back to it. And they don't skip a beat. I mean, they are so used to it.
You have to perform at this theater. It's something you have to get used to. And the good thing is the train doesn't come through just during performances, it comes during rehearsals. So even our new actors and actresses, which we have a few in this show we're currently doing, have already gotten used to the train coming by, and honestly, the audience loves it and expects it. At this point, it's one of the things they adore the most about our plays is when the train comes by, they know something stupid's going to get said on stage.
Also, they love the commercials.
They do. They love our commercials for local businesses that we throw in to the middle of our plays. So, but yeah, so you might hear the train, and you might hear a few other things that a soon-to-be 100-year-old theater can throw at you. So just bear with us on that. But other than that, I think we're good to go and start talking about the history of the theater, right?
Most definitely.
Okay. All right, well, let's backtrack. Before the Palace Theater, we have to go all the way back to 1912, okay? And we have to talk about the Majestic Theater, which was here at that time.
Now, was that, okay, so that was here, that was Majestic Theater, is it a movie theater or slow picture, or?
It was, and Mildred, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe it was for performances and like orchestra. For that time period, it was interesting the way it was built because it was an all wooden structure. A lot of the brick and the concrete you see now did not exist when it was the Majestic. It was mostly wooden, all wooden, and it had a retractable roof on the top of it.
That's very interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, so for 1912, I just thought that was very interesting.
Very
to have
cutting
a retractable
edge for
roof.
1912.
Right.
I mean, that is something, that's the first time I've heard of that, but that's amazing, dude. The architecture that had to go into that, and to be able to pull that off, I would love to find pictures eventually. Maybe we can search and post some online.
There is a picture in
The Goddard Chapness.
that's right.
Okay, we'll take a picture of that, and then I'll post that online so people can kind of see what it looked like back then. That's pretty awesome.
Yep, and that picture you'll see Marlin as it was a little bit then as well. You know, the no paved streets out front, horse carriages, you know, the whole nine. So very interesting picture about the history of the theater when it was the Majestic. And so being all wooden and with the retractable roof, it did have its faults, right? Over its, I would say, 10-year, 11-year existence, it started to fall apart.
It was wood.
It was wood, right?
Yeah.
It started to have its issues. So J.C. Chapness, who is an immigrant from Greece, came over with his wife, and we will affectionately refer to them as their nicknames that they were referred to by for the majority of their lives, Momsy and Popsy. So when you hear us say Momsy, it's J.C.'s wife, and when you hear us say Popsy, it's J.C. But Momsy and Popsy acquired the Majestic not long after they got here, which was around the same time it was built, maybe a couple of years after it was built. And they kept it running till about 1924. And then J.C. said, we need to do a lot of work. There's been fires at other theaters in the area and at the old opera house that used to be in Marlin. So we're going to change things up. And he tore it down and built the Palace Theater, which is what we're sitting in now. And that was in 1925.
Whoa, dude, that trips me out that this was constructed during that time and still stands, you know? Isn't that wild?
It's a beautiful old building.
It really is. And like I said, we'll post pictures so you guys can see it. And you can also come to the Palace Theater.
Absolutely. We are still up and running, and you can visit our website and get information, and we'll go over all that later. But yeah, so in 1925, J.C. built and opened up the Palace Theater, and from there it was just whatever he could do, he did. That was around the time silent pictures started to become a thing. So silent pictures, he showed those, musical acts, stage performances. The stage that we're sitting on now, and we can post pictures of this as well, we are actually sitting on an extended part of the stage. So when he first built the theater, the stage that's behind us, for those of us here in studio, you see the wood back here, that's the original stage. What we're on top of now used to be the orchestra pit. So there used to be a live orchestra in-house for the plays and for the silent pictures.
I've never seen the orchestra down there, but I have seen a hammock hanging. Like somebody takes naps over there every now and then.
Nick, are you guilty party?
You know, at this point, there's no telling what we've stashed underneath the stage, but there are some things down there. And we actually exposed part of the stage a couple of weeks ago because we need to do some repairs on it, so we can post a picture of that as well to kind of give everyone an idea of what the concrete orchestra pit kind of used to look like. Unfortunately, we don't have any full pictures of what that used to look like, but you know, we have current stuff that we've taken recently.
You can get an idea from that.
Don't forget the cellar or the basement.
Yeah, right. And beneath all of this, beneath the stage, beneath the orchestra pit, we have the beautiful concrete, no air ventilation, creepy basement that exists down there. And we'll talk more about the basement when we start talking about some events that we do here at the theater, because we do paranormal events here at the theater, and why wouldn't you at a 100-year-old theater? So. But during that time frame, in the early or in the mid-20s, it took off. I mean, this area of the county, this area of Texas at the time, was huge on entertainment, and this is also the same time where Marlin kind of started to take off. We've got the Falls Hotel next door that was built just a few years later in 1928 and opened in 1929.
Which was a Hilton hotel, right?
Which was one of Conrad Hilton's original hotels. It was his 8th hotel that he ever built.
And it's still standing, even
it's
though
still
it's probably
standing.
condemned.
It's still standing. And across the street from that, you had the bathhouses, the mineral water bathhouses. So this little area of town has a lot of history.
It is spring training for the baseball teams.
Right, the spring training for the New York Giants.
What? It's not even a Texas team?
It wasn't even a Texas team. The Giants heard about the mineral water, so they came and used, because at the time Marlin had 3 baseball fields.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and 2 of them you can still access and get to. One of them, I believe, was covered up and became part of the high school. But there are still 2 that you can get to. One at the city park, and I believe the ones actually in the residential area, there ended up being houses and stuff that ended up being built around it.
Okay. I think I know which ones you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the New York Giants would come down and stay at the Falls Hotel next door, come to the theater for a little entertainment, go across the street to the bathhouses, go to the fields to do their practice, and then, you know, and go home.
Also, one good thing is, like at the falls, if they didn't want people around them, they had tunnels from the falls.
I wanted to ask about that.
Okay.
I've heard so many rumors, and I don't know.
Have you ever seen that, Mildred? Did you ever go to the bathhouses?
Yes.
Did you go through the tunnel? Or?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So what was it like? Dark? Did they have lights? Did they, you know?
I think we had to use a flashlight
Okay.
because going underneath the road, and we went down the elevator in the hotel and to the basement.
Cool.
And then walked across over to the bathhouse and back up to the bathhouse, and it was locked.
There we go. We have proof.
Yeah, that's awesome.
First-hand witness. The
I have
tunnels
never
are
talked to
real.
anybody that actually went to the bathhouses, so that's super cool.
That was before we moved here.
You just came to visit, or?
Well, I had a sister and mother that was living up here, and they took us through the hotel and the tunnel.
Did they charge you to go? Do you remember? No, it was just, you could just go?
Somebody had a key. And
I love small towns.
Yes, I do too.
And no names, but somebody had a key.
to get into the hotel, but the bathhouse, you just take up The door was up, but you just came up and walked in.
Man, I wish those were
And
around
it
now.
still had all the baths and everything there. It was just like it.
So what happened to the springs?
They're still flowing. They just tested the water. Somebody was supposed to come here, like, I don't know, recently, previous few years, and they were gonna open the bathhouses or talk about it, but apparently the water, it has some toxic stuff in it, to where it's not safe to really, like, fully soak in it, and that's why they decided not to reopen them. And the tunnels are condemned are they condemned?
There is a blockage between the north side and south side of the street.
Man-made blockage?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yes.
Because they didn't want anyone going over after the bathhouse burned.
Was that just a freak accident? The burning of
I
it?
don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of those things that we don't know. I mean, the bathhouses were there, and then they burnt down, and they weren't there.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now the gazebo's there.
Now the gazebo is there next to the post office, and you can actually, if you go down into the basement of the Falls Hotel, you can actually still see and partially go into the tunnel entrance. It's still down there, but like Mildred said, you can only go so far in, and then the man-made blockage. And the reason they did that was because of drainage issues in the town. So it would flood a lot to the point where it would be dangerous if it did stay open, because, come on, let's be real. Anybody could probably break into a facility like that and go down into those tunnels.
Yeah.
So the last thing you want to happen is for somebody to do that during a bad rainstorm, and then it's flooded and they go down there and drown and get caught and drown or something like that. So yes, they blocked them off after a certain period of time. When that period of time is, I couldn't tell you. I don't know an exact date on that, but that's the state of it.
Also,
right
just
now.
to mention, our area has a lot of flooding. Like when it rains, it stays in the streets, so it is a dangerous factor. I could totally see that being a reason why.
Yeah.
I still want to go down there and check it out.
I do too.
Well, maybe we'll have to reach out to the owner of the Falls Hotel that we here at the theater just happen to know, and you know, maybe that can be a thing one day. Maybe we can do some live recording in the Falls Hotel. You never know. Stay tuned, folks, for that possibility. But so that takes us, you know, into the 30s and the 40s, and the theater is really starting to take off, and it's rolling. JC. We can go out and we can send pictures of this on the website, on the Facebook page and everything, but JC started to really build relationships with folks out in Hollywood and in New York.
Wow.
So we actually have signed photographs of several old Hollywood actors and actresses out there in the what we call the Goddard Chapmas room.
So is that from like silent films, or is that from like...
Talking pictures at this point.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
after talking pictures started coming out.
And we'll post some of that stuff too, just so people can see.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we have, somewhere in this facility, we have old record books from Paramount Pictures and MGM Studios and like all these other famous, well-known places where JC had built these relationships and got these films. And we don't know, personally, we haven't seen any evidence of any famous actors and actresses actually coming out here at any point. But the speculation is there. I mean, we did have the world-famous New York Giants baseball team and several...
Which is totally random. I mean,
Right.
come on. Marlin, Texas, the New York... Like, come on.
Yeah. So you never know. Those people could have shown up at some point
What about...
in history.
Wasn't there a movie made in Marlin? Some cowboy flick or something? I don't know what year. That's why I'm asking.
So over the course of history, there have been at least 2 films that I'm aware of that have been filmed in Marlin. Not about Marlin, but filmed in Marlin. One was back in the 60s or 70s,
Okay,
and then
so
one was pretty recent in the early 2000s. The one back in the 60s or 70s, I want to say it was called Lead Belly, and it was about a blues
you're right.
musician, and they filmed some of it down Wood Street in Marlin.
Which was like the black area in town. They had nightclubs, like jazz bars, and things like that.
Right. Right, blues, jazz, all that stuff.
And that'll probably be a future episode, just saying. I have a guy that owns the buildings that wants to kind of fill us in on all that history, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it could be something interesting, definitely, in the future. And then they filmed another movie in Marlin in the early to mid 2000s called Infamous. and they filmed it at the courthouse, or scenes of it at the courthouse downtown, and that movie featured several local residents as extras, including my dad. And my dad got to do a scene with Sandra Bullock and Daniel Craig, Mr. James Bond himself, and Jeff Daniels at the courthouse. So that was really cool. He got to have lunch with Sandra Bullock, and I still partially hate him to this day for that. But, you know, of course I don't hate my dad, but, you know, I still give him grief over that one.
That's super awesome. I did not know that.
So that's 2 times in history that we know of for sure that we had actual famous people here in town and you know, filming movies. So just a cool tidbit there. So let's fast forward a little bit in history, all the way to 1975. JC's getting up there in years, and his right-hand man, his associate Casey, who for a long time ran the concessions and the front lobby and eventually the projection room upstairs, he started getting up there in years as well. So they decided to go ahead and retire the Palace Theater. So for 5 years it just sat here. From 1975 to 1980 it just sat here.
So they
closed
just
off.
like said, okay, we're closing the doors, they locked it up, and it just
sat.
which is a horrible thing for an old building. Just like an old car. You don't want it to
It's
just
sad,
sit.
right?
Yeah, it deteriorates really quick, which is weird because you would think wear and tear will, you know, break something down, but it's like not using it is worse.
Yeah. But in 1980, J.C. And his family donated the theater to the Presbyterian Church. And for the next year, they proceeded to use it as a great big storage room.
Oh, wow.
So in
The
1981,
building is huge, by the way.
it is huge.
Yeah.
So in 1981, a group of local citizens got together and said, we want to open this place back up. And they formed the board of the Palace Theater Directors, an organization which continues to this day. Mildred and I are members of that. And anybody who is an elected board member is also a partial owner of the theater, because the theater is owned by the Marlin Palace Theater Board of Directors Incorporated.
So Mildred, at that time, were there a lot of people, or how many people were on the board, and were you part of the original board?
No.
Okay, you came later.
Oh, yes.
Do you know, like, were they just like 5 people that wanted to do something or give back to the arts, or?
That was kind of before my time in a way of being involved. Nick knows more about it than I do. It was just that when I came in this building, it wasn't scary. I've never been scared in this building. And I'm down here by myself a lot of times.
I have been, but it's not like a scare where it's like I don't want to come back. You know what I mean? I've been frightened. Let me say that, because I think scared and frightened is different.
Well, I haven't been frightened, and I haven't really been scared.
I frightened myself, though, whenever I got frightened. It was just something I saw, and I'm like, oh my God, being a human, making it bigger than it is. But I do think you're right, as this place has like a good vibe. It has a good feeling.
And I like doing tours. I will give a tour to anybody that will show up at the door.
That's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Pretty much.
She does give a good tour.
So did the Presbyterian Church donate the building back?
Yeah, how
or-
did that work?
So I'm not really sure how that acquisition happened. I don't know if it was a sale process. I don't know if it was a donation process. I really don't know. We
Do you
really
know
don't
who was
know.
part of the board in the beginning?
Some of the original board members, well, let's talk first about Hazel Goddard.
Okay.
She's pretty much the one that got the ball rolling on everything and getting the theater back into being a theater. And we do have a room off to the side. If you ever come to the theater and you come in through the front lobby, usually I'm the one that'll be at the front door checking people in. So come up there, talk to me. I'll be more than happy to show you our small but effective Hazel Goddard and J.C. Chapmas Memorial Room, which is right off to the side of the lobby, and it features plaques and pictures and everything of Hazel and J.C. and JC's wife. But Hazel got the ball rolling on everything, and her family was one of the wealthier families in the area. So I believe that, yes, there may have been some kind of financials involved in that.
Do you know she was part of the Presbyterian Church?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that kind of
Yes.
makes sense. Maybe they're like,
She was married to, I don't know if they call him priest or what.
whoever was the pastor.
Yes.
Okay.
She was
Right.
very involved with it.
So that's awesome, and that probably made for a great transition,
Mhm.
you know, of ownership. It's like, hey, let's.
Yeah, she personally took it. She personally took it on and started the board of directors, and then the board of directors, you know, went from there with everything. Some more of the original board of directors members were Ann Price, who a lot of local residents would probably recognize as being the band director for Marlin Junior High and High School for several years. I know she taught both my sister in the 80s and myself in the 90s up to the early 2000s, so she's been around for a while. And then, of course, we had Pat and Howard Lee Smith, who Howard Lee passed away several years ago, but Pat is still with us, and for as long as I can remember, at least from the time I started coming in here in the early 90s in my childhood, Pat was the director of the shows.
I met her, I think it was the first play I was in. Of course, she
Mhm.
comes to support plays still. And I met her, and I heard that she has directed most of the plays that have gone on here.
Oh yeah, from the time of the reopening, the official reopening of the theater in 1984. Does anybody remember that year?
Your
Earlier
birthday!
mentioned? Yes, the year of my birth. So go figure. The theater opened its doors back up the same year I was born.
That's some good
But
for you.
from 1984 until I would say probably 2007 or 2008, Pat was the director of the shows. And after, it was a long time.
yeah.
And before her, there was one director of live performances. So from the theater's opening in 1925 until it shut its doors in 1975, there was one director. And then from 1984 until, let's say, 2008, let's just round it off.
Yeah.
2008, Pat was the director.
Wow.
And then from 2008 until 2023, Rob Brown, our
Shout out to Rob.
he was our director. He's one of our board members. He was our director.
He does a lot, like Mildred for the Palace.
And officially starting this year, 2024, and on to who knows when, I'm now the director of shows.
Yeah, and congrats on that. His first
you.
play's coming
Yeah,
up, guys.
next.
Yeah.
So
Can't
for
wait to see that.
its entire 100-year history, the Palace Theater has had 4 directors.
That's pretty remarkable, because a lot of people have a revolving door when it comes to stuff like that. But I think y'all really let people develop their craft here. And I know whenever I was in the play, the 2 plays I was in, which is minute compared to a lot of people, but I felt privileged and I felt proud, and everybody was willing to help me because I hadn't really been in a play. And so it's like the feedback was great. The feel of community and the respect and love that people have for the theater and the arts is just moving, you know? It was something that I wanted to check off the list. I thought I'd be in one maybe. Actually, when I started volunteering, I was like, oh my God, Mildred, I could never be in the play. And she goes, watch out, don't say that. And then boom, I was in a play. You know, and it's just like, it pushed me in a way that I never thought I would do something like that, you know? And yeah, like the second one was even better, and it's just a magical place. I'm glad it's around.
And a lot of people have said that, just FYI, over the
Oh, I'm
years.
sure.
A lot of people have said, I'm not going to be in those plays. I'm just going to come and help. I said that in the 1990s when I was a kid coming in here. I said, oh yeah, I'm just going to come watch the shows. And then Pat talked me into coming and helping. So, oh yeah, I'm just going to help. I'm just going to, you know, be a volunteer, do whatever y'all need. And then eventually, I think it was maybe 99 or 2000, Pat Smith and Joy Hayes, who was Pat's right-hand man, so to speak, talked me into being in a show. And from that time on, I've, you know, been a performer slash assistant slash
Whatever.
You rock
board
the stage.
member
I mean,
slash whatever now.
I was
down
in
here.
a play before you, and then I was in my second play was with you, and your stage presence is like, you can tell you're really comfortable. You've done it for a long time.
Yeah, well, I
I
was
wish I had that.
super nervous at first, but after like maybe 2 shows, I just
Second nature.
second nature. Like,
Yeah.
I was supposed to be here
Mhm.
and supposed to be doing that, and obviously I'm still supposed. I mean, it's 25 years later, and I'm
Well,
still
directing.
here. So
Do you feel different directing, like, than being in plays here?
I do. Directing is its own beast
Yeah,
entirely. You know, instead of worrying about just my part in a script, I now have to worry about everybody's parts in the script.
I have to disagree with you on that because I feel like my experience acting with you, you definitely helped everybody out on stage.
Okay,
And then
that's fair.
I also have to say, my first play, you came up here, even though you weren't in the play, you came up here and your advice was really good and comforting. So I think you're not giving yourself enough credit on that, but yeah.
And I tend to do that. I do. I tend to do that. I tend to not give myself credit where credit is due. But yeah, it's a different beast altogether. Having to think about set design and props and
All the moving
stage
parts.
direction, timing, everything, sound, editing, all that stuff. But that's why I have assistants like Mildred, and then Rob is going to be handling lights and sound and everything for us. So
Oh, that's good.
we got a nice group that's going to be putting on this first show. And all that started back in 1981 when Hazel Goddard said, it's time to open this bad boy back up. So from 1981 to 1984, there was a 3-year period of cleaning. Because unfortunately, and it was by no fault of their own, they put a few things in here and then a few more things and then a few more things, but it just became piled up in here. Just furniture, boxes of paperwork, anything you can think of. Oh, I'm sure there had to be rodents running around at
we're
that
in the country,
point.
guys, so.
You know, so, but they did. The board did an amazing job, and all the volunteers did an amazing job getting it all cleaned out and opened back up. And what you see today is
So were
a
these,
result.
there's some paintings on the side and the color, what do you call these sections? Do you know?
So those, honestly, those are just
Decor?
they are just facades.
Okay. Was that
Um,
there though? Like when they came back around and they fixed stuff up, did they build those and do the painting?
Those were there before. They actually house the up there. Do you see what looks like a window? And I'm using window in quotation marks. Those are actually air vents for the AC system.
That's smart.
Yeah. So in order to just kind of hide them,
They put them there.
they built these facades around them
I
off
like
the
that.
sides of the stage.
Clever.
So they look like two big. Well, and we'll show pictures online. But if you're looking from the audience to the stage, and you look to stage left or you look to stage right, you see these two big pillars that look like gigantic.
Turrets is what Pat
Yeah.
says. I was wondering what the name of it.
They look like gigantic towers that would be in like a Romeo and Juliet style play or something like
I
that.
can
But
just see someone posted at the top of these with a long bow.
I can too, but now that he says that they're fake, I'm like, oh no.
yeah, oh no, there's if
I
you
can
look.
see behind it actually.
Yeah,
on
if you
this
look
side
at it from the
especially.
side, it's hollow. There's
Yeah.
nothing up there for anybody to stand on or to support on.
Well, that's cool to know that all of that, it's like y'all have kept it as original as possible.
Everything that you come across in this theater is either 1, original to the 1925 facility, 2, an antique that was brought in by somebody local and is authentic, 3, part of an original stage design. The paintings that you're talking about that are on the walls right now were used in, I want to say, The Wizard of Oz.
Those are huge.
They are
And
huge.
they were
What is that,
painted
20
as part of a
feet?
backdrop, and then we just hung them on the walls afterwards.
Yeah, it's hardcore.
And you may not know this, or you might, but there is a screen that is down underneath us.
Yep.
A screen that hangs for movies?
Well, it was for used, painted, that goes along with these for paintings,
Okay.
and it's huge.
I mean,
It
because
could have gone all the way around.
like the screen that y'all have here for movies, is that like an old school screen? Or is that a new screen? Because y'all have done movies here since, right?
I don't know about the movie screen, but I'm talking about a curtain
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
that is painted that goes along with,
Like the backdrop
not
screen?
that one.
Oh, okay.
It's forest.
I will get a picture of that, and we'll send you all a picture, or we'll post pictures of the stage, and we might even take a little video and do that as a sub thing on this episode, like a little link.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
It's so cool. People have
throughout
to see
the
it.
building. That again are original. The projectors up in the projector room. For one, that is the original 1925 projector room, and two, those are the original projectors inside of it. So,
They're huge.
And they are huge. Everything is authentic and original.
Who's that
Everything.
dude over there? You know?
You talking about that guy hanging up on the?
Yeah, the painting.
There's a painting of a gentleman sitting in a chair, and we believe it's just a painting that was done for a backdrop in a play.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't believe it's anybody original to the theater. But yeah, that's the base history of the theater. In 1984, it reopened its doors. There is a drop-down screen that was put in the 80s for showing movies. At first, they were just going to show movies, and then Pat was like, "Nope." Pat Smith like, "Nope. I have a history in theater. We're going to do plays again." So they started doing plays again.
It might not have happened for
Right.
a while.
Yeah, doing plays again might not have happened for a while, but
Yeah.
because Pat was part of it, she said, no, let's do it. We're going to do it.
So awesome.
We're going to do shows. So they did movies, they did shows, they did live music, everything that we do now. They started doing back then. Yeah, everything that we do now, they started doing back then. Yeah, that's the base history from 1925 to 1985. That's the first 60 years
That's so wild.
of the Palace Theater.
Mildred, do you have anything to add on just this is a two-parter episode, folks. So on this first section of like the history of the Palace up to the 80s, is there anything else you want to add, or do you think you and Nick kind of wrapped it up on that? And then Pat, if you have any questions, now's your time on this section.
I was not involved with it in the 80s. It's more in the 2000s
Yeah.
that I got involved in it. It started off with a friend of mine, since she was going down and volunteering for one of the dinner theaters that they were having. And I said, "You need help?" And she says, "Yeah, if you want to." And I was hooked.
Yep, and she's been with us ever since. And as odd as it might sound, I'm 39 and I'm the most senior member of the Palace Theater. Yeah, I've been here longer than anybody else because I've been here since I was a kid. But yeah, at 39 I'm the most senior member of the theater.
I have to throw out there though, the food at those dinner theaters is excellent. My expectations were pretty low. You know how those normally you're expecting some rotary chicken.
Polly and Mildred, some other
amazing.
crew, they do all that. Terry Glover.
Yes.
Polly's in the plays and cooks, which
Yep.
is crazy.
She is.
That's a lot of energy to put. But Mildred, she's up here every day, sewing, doing something, doing the food. She organizes I mean, this is a backstage or in the back while people are watching a play. During the dinner theater, there's so much happening. There's so many volunteers. If they didn't have volunteers, the dinner theater would not happen. And on that note, I do want to say, Nick, do you want to just give a breakdown on what you guys do and what you guys have coming up? Because I know we'll go into more stuff the second episode, but I think it's important to say it on both.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, and just real quick to throw a shout out, you mentioned a very important word to us here, and that word was volunteers. Everybody that does anything down here is a volunteer. We are a nonprofit organization, and every dime that we take in from event sales, performance sales, whatever, goes 100% to renovations of the theater, to preserving the theater.
Let me be clear about this because how you said that was great. You are a nonprofit that 100% goes back into the theater. A lot of nonprofits don't do that, and they pay people and all that, and so this is truly like a legit nonprofit. Nobody makes a dollar. They restore this building as they get funds. They have volunteers from the back of the house to the front of the house to the board, everybody. It's pretty amazing. And it takes a lot of time to put on one of these plays.
It takes a lot of time and effort, but we all do it because we love it and we love the building. And once you come here, you're hooked.
Yeah.
And I
agree
think
with
Mildred alluded to that a little bit earlier, but yeah, once you come to this building, you're hooked in this building. You come inside, it's got its claws in you.
Yeah.
You may not come back as often as some of us do. You may not ever join the board or be a volunteer. You might just, come to the events and the shows. But once you're here, you're hooked.
Yeah,
You're not coming back, right?
And it is a lot of fun coming down here and cooking the meals, because we have a very modern kitchen that we designed
Yeah.
and put
It's
in.
beautiful.
We did all the work ourselves. I mean, getting down and pulling up carpet, you name it, we've done it.
Yeah, so just to kind of to emphasize on what she's saying, we're in the main theater building right now, but we've acquired 2 more buildings that are connected to the theater over the course of the last 20 years.
And we will talk about those in the second episode, because there's a huge tie into that building, this area, and then also what's on the other side of you guys, because there's a little building as well.
Yeah, on the other side of us, and we don't own that, on the other side of us is the Falls County Museum.
I've never been to it and lived here 6 years.
They actually have a lot of work going on over there right now, so they have some remodeling and construction work going on over there. So at some point in time, if they decide, and it's the Saturday before Easter, so I don't know if they're going to or not, but they might decide to go down there today and do some work. So if you hear some drills or something, or some hammering of nails, that's what's going on. But yeah, we've acquired, if you're looking at the theater from the street, from the train tracks, we have acquired everything to the left. And the small building on the right is the museum, and then you have this big open parking lot, and then the Falls Hotel.
And then you guys also own the apartment upstairs of the building to the left of the main theater, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is access through the alleyway. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next episode as well.
The museum is planning to be open on the nights that we have functions.
Oh my God, I love
Okay.
that. That's awesome.
They have
Awesome.
remodeled it, they're putting in carpet, painted it.
I've had numerous people ask me about it.
I belong to that board, and they have always wanted to try to be open so people could see what memorabilia and history that is Marlin also
Yeah,
there.
I think that's awesome. That's what our podcast, I mean, I know eventually we'll branch out into other things, but there's so much history here, we have our plates full for a while.
Yeah, absolutely we do. Absolutely we do. But yeah, that's the that's the start. That's the original history.
So I have to ask,
theater.
and
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone knows the answer to this question, but there is a beautiful, ornate, white and gold organ.
White.
White, sitting right off of stage right.
Mm-hmm.
Did the Presbyterian Church leave that?
No.
So that organ was donated to us just 2 years ago by another theater organization in, help me with the name of the town, Mildred.
I always forget the name.
I
of
do
the town.
too,
It's
I
south
do
of,
too, and I feel so bad
Is it in
about forgetting
Texas?
the name
Yes.
of the town, but they're right down the street from us. They're maybe
Cosby,
they're maybe a half an
Albert.
hour to the
South
hour.
of Waco, where the
Starts with G.
And M, starts with an M.
it's where they have the space.
McGregor?
McGregor, thank
Oh
you.
wow,
Yes.
that's a huge
yes,
place,
SpaceX
right? Is
and
McGregor big?
No, I don't, no.
But
Yeah.
there's a group there that has an old theater that they're trying to revamp.
Mhm. Yep.
And so this is going to be theirs, and we're storing it.
So y'all get to use it for the time being.
We do.
Well, then we found out they found another one like this.
Hey,
There's only
waiting.
a very few of them left,
Mhm.
and so this one was a donation from them to our theater.
It's very Phantom of the Opera, and that's why y'all got it initially, right?
Yes, so we will definitely post pictures of this beautiful guy. It is original. It was built in, I'll just give y'all a hint, 1920...
4.
No.
5.
There you go. 1925, the year that the theater was
open.
born,
That's really cool.
this organ was built.
So who
And
plays the organ?
So
They have somebody.
people that actually play these things are very rare to come by.
Yeah.
I think there may be a total of 4 in the entire state of Texas. So the one guy that we have come out, his name is Jim, and he comes from the Waco area. And what we do is we drop the screen, we play silent movies, anything from Buster Keaton to Phantom of the Opera, and he accompanies the film with the organ.
And that's normally on the Saturday night before Halloween.
Right.
That's so awesome. We need to come to that, Pat.
We definitely
We'll make
need to
it a
come to
point
that.
this year.
And the theater has acquired rights to play multiple pictures here.
Oh,
so
that's something that I did not learn until I was in plays. You have to acquire the rights. So, like, if you go to a theater and see a Disney something, they're paying Disney every play. And so there is an awesome guy, Dan Cook. We've done some of Dan Cook's plays, but now
Pat Cook.
Pat Cook. Sorry, I couldn't remember exactly. But now, like, you know, Rob's written, I could see you writing, like, stuff like that. So they don't just stick to plays that other people wrote. They write plays together. It's kind of a beautiful thing to see, like, the progression of stuff. And not to say that, like, a play that you buy isn't great. Of course it is. But it's something unique about whenever you guys write it, and then it's also just shown here, you know?
Yeah.
Something about the organ that everyone may not know is that it's electronically modified, that if we had the pipes in this room here, they would take up at least half of the audience space of the regular
Wow.
theater.
Because of all those buttons and stuff,
Because,
huh?
well, they stand up, they're
Mhm.
pipes, and then they stand up, and it would take up most of this. They recorded each one of the pipes, and now they are electronically
Put into that.
put into this.
That's really
so that
awesome.
It will sound original.
Yeah, it's like a
Yep.
cool keyboard, but way
Very
more
interesting. Yes,
sophisticated.
exactly. A keyboard on steroids.
Yeah.
With a lot of gold leaf.
And just for anybody that's curious, yes, we do have some of the original pipes from
Yes,
the
you do.
organ.
That's awesome. So you guys do the Phantom of the Opera. You do 2 times a year dinner theater. They're always accepting volunteers, but we were always going to post the play dates on our website. So please get tickets, support the local theater. They also do paranormal. How often do you guys do that? About 3 or 4 times a year?
So we started out doing, the event is called Paranormal University, and we do have another one coming up in June, so keep your eyes posted for that one. But they've become so popular that we had to extend it to 2 to 3 times a year.
Cool.
So we will post those frequently. You can go to Palace Theater Marlin, thepalacetheatermarlin.com, our website for any ticket and event information. You can also follow our Facebook page at the Palace Theater Marlin. We'll always have everything posted.
You guys make it
event-wise.
really easy for people to buy tickets.
Yeah,
and so
quick
that's great.
links to the website online where we sell it, and we often post on there whether or not you can purchase tickets at the door. So.
And it, like you said, everything is 100% back into the theater. So, you know, support the local arts whether you live in Texas or not. You can also donate to the theater if you can't get here for a play. I know that you guys do accept donations, so that's something to think about.
Yeah, we've been able to do, because of our patrons and the donations that they've given through, 1, some have just donated, and 2, through coming to our events and our performances, we've been able to replace all the electrical throughout the entire facility. We've been able to build those nice new beautiful kitchens in the back where we can you know, cook our dinners for the shows. We've been able to replace a lot of the plumbing and a lot of the stuff that was original to the 20s because of these donations.
And this
So, yeah.
place is nice, but it does need more. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, please donate.
It's a 100-year-old building.
Yeah,
You know,
it could be
was just
$20,
gonna
it could be
say-
$100, it could be $1,000, it could be more. You know, if you want to leave your whole estate to the Palace Theater, I think they'd be okay with that too.
Yeah.
But
We're not going to say no to a nice donation. So yeah, but that's all I've got for you. Do you have any more questions?
No, I think we're going to talk about some of the other stuff in the next episode, and I thank you, Mildred, for coming out. That was great, and she'll join us on the next episode as well.
Yes, Mildred, thank you so much. It's always really nice to have the first-hand knowledge, and I'm so happy that you confirmed the tunnels for me.
And it was awesome to have a guest with us. It was the first time to do that. She's the perfect one.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Well, I'm glad you did, Mildred.
But this is my second home. It really is. Sometimes I think it's my first home.
She's here a lot, for sure.
It is for a lot of us, that's for sure.
Yes, it is.
So, all right, TK.
Bye, y'all.